Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and we are doing IronTrap on the road, helping friends. So I am at my buddy Jason's place that you see help us out quite often. And Jason has been over the past couple years gathering parts to build a 32 pickup project, and he got, what, a BB project, what, about a year ago?
Maybe? A year ago, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of been help coaching Jason through the process of how you do this for as cheap as possible. So he bought a pretty clean cab that was on a BB chassis and all that, and he sold a lot of the BB stuff to, you know, get himself almost close to even, and now he's got a good cab that he has on the frame. So what he wants to do is use a portion, kind of like we did with the free T, use a portion of the BB frame to save some money, and we're gonna work on stepping the frame, setting this thing up. He's already picked up a drop axle, and is that Moultrie maybe you got that?
Yeah, Moultrie.
So you got this drop axle on one of our trips in Moultrie, and so Jason and Mike and the guys have been buying parts to build themselves cars out on these trips, and he's starting to put it together. So he's got a lot of the parts kind of mocked up already. He did kind of most of the hard work. I get to come and do the fun stuff, but Jason wants to channel it a little bit. He's got this Pontiac. What's the specs in the Pontiac?
65, 389 tri-power out of the GTO. Basically stock rebuild. I forget if it was 60 over on the pistons because the one was torn a little bit.
Okay. And Jason got this. Jason and I went to an auction, Cabin Fever auction company. We went out near me, and I knew nothing about Pontiac engines, and Jason started going nuts bidding on it, and I was like, what? I guess it's cool. And then he told me it's a GTO engine, so he already got this is all built and fresh and pretty much good to go. So we're going to be using this, a good engine for mock-up, which is a little unusual for me because I usually just have junk. But yeah, so we're going to use this engine. This is what he wants to use. What are you using for a trans on this?
I got this Muncie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So you picked up a Muncie. That was in
Maryland.
Maryland at the at one of the swap meets we go to.
Yeah.
And then you got that bell housing. Rhinebeck, geez, I love it. So he's got all these parts in the different swap meets and adventures we've done. And we just went and visited a guy a couple towns over, had some really neat hot rods and stuff, and let us buy some stuff. And Jason found an original set that was hanging on his wall of, we think, new old stock Pontiac to early Ford Hurst motor mounts, which is really, really cool. So we're gonna kind of start putting all these pieces together. We're gonna try and spend a good full day's work on this or more, and try and get the engine mocked up and maybe a kick up made. He's got some tubing here, and try and get this thing looking a little bit like a truck, and then he can keep working on it. So we're gonna start eyeballing some stuff and maybe get the engine and trans mocked up, and we'll see where we get. We'll stop along the way and just show you guys some of the thought process. It might help you guys that are setting up projects yourself. All right, so these Hurst mounts, it looks like they bolt. There's two bolt holes that go here in the block, but I found with a lot of the Hurst mounts, they didn't really think about the fuel pump. Like on Y blocks, it's a similar problem. Oldsmobile, you almost can't use a fuel pump, you have to use electric, so this is no different. I think it'll fit, but we'll probably have to notch. We have to notch the bottom of that out a little bit, and then you have to put like a 45 or something, but it probably would fit. That or you could space it out a little bit, but you'd have to space it out quite a bit, which might be a little sketchy. But yeah, so for now we may want to just take the fuel pump off, and then we could probably modify this mount some, but it is cool that it's an original Hurst.
Hold on. Just got it.
Over that. Hold on, I'm about to go over this. Watch your right foot's about. Now we're running into the axle, so that's your next problem. You have to kick your right. Or mine.
Matt, jack.
Yep. Getting there. There's the jack. So that's a good starting point, I think. All right, ready?
Yep.
Sorry. Is that on?
I just stood up no more. All right, I'm on the block.
Okay. Now we're dangling. Yeah, you got a bit of room now. So that's probably getting closer to the ballpark. Yeah. Step one, mock up engine. Stand back, stare at it. Looks cool. That's probably not far off from where you want the placement in the engine bay. I think all those pulleys and crap, you need that room. You probably could go forward a hair, potentially. Because the radiator sits.
We'll put it in front.
Ah, well then you could come forward
Yeah.
a bit more then. I forgot about that. But, well, you could probably come forward enough to put the pulley in this trough, kind of.
Well, like I said, I was reading
But if you want the, oh, you're reading.
about cutting that out.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have some room here to play. There's a fan bolt on the front of that.
Yeah. I have it, man.
You may want to look at that because where it sits, it may actually be at a good spot. It may not be far off.
Yeah.
But I think it could probably go forward a hair, personally. But don't know till you. It looks set back just a little too far.
Yeah, if it could come a little bit forward, that way I wouldn't have to notch
Yeah.
the firewall as much.
Yeah.
Because I would like to use the firewall that I have,
Yeah. I think that's
you know.
totally doable.
Although I feel like I can see some people say, "Why do you want to cut up a good firewall?"
Yeah, that's kind of sacrificial. That is a nice one. I might trade you one that's better for cutting. All right, so we got the engine mocked up. This is just kind of like step one, just to put the big pieces in place. We just got blocks and crap set up, but I think we want to go, probably move the engine forward just a hair eventually. What do you got there? Oh man, clutch fan. This is newfangled technology. Go ahead, let's just see where that's going to sit. But we were lining the Hurst mounts up and they bolt in these two bolts right here, come forward and they step up a little bit, and we're right about at the top of the frame where it would be. It might need to go up a hair more, but we will see. But we're right in the ballpark, so we're just trying to get a rough idea where stuff's going to sit to even start setting ride height or any of that stuff. Jay's got a clutch fan here for the engine. Yeah, let's walk around and see. Okay. Yeah, so honestly, where we have it, we could go a little forward if you're putting the radiator in the front.
Yep.
But not a ton. Probably, you know, say 2 inches or so we could move the engine forward probably. So it's good you have that, because I didn't realize it was quite that big of a fan. Got room on your block.
More?
Let me just get in. I'll try and pick that trans up. Let's forward a little bit. I don't know if it'll help. And move it forward a bit.
I'd say so. Cause
It's getting closer.
yeah, because I still have to put the pulley on.
Well, like I said, you're gonna have to probably
notch. I'm gonna have to cut this out.
Well, let's try setting that down there and see where that likes, how it likes that. It looks like it's clear here. Go ahead down a little.
Alright, well, I might have to put another washer on them.
Okay.
Well, alright, so.
I mean, you got weight there.
Now there's dumb question for you. Should I lower the jack now?
Do you have the weight off?
I have some weight off. I can get more off.
You'd have to take it all off, take this thing, to roll this thing out. You'd have to get the point. There you go. Alright, now we can take the jack out, roll the stand away, and we're in the ballpark now. How's the level on that?
It's actually at 0.
Okay.
It was at 0.
Yeah. Okay. Motor mount's done. Wood blocks.
The non-IronTrap way. She's still sitting at 0, basically.
Cool. So we're in the ballpark. That's what we need. Let's turn this off. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's you can see you got room for the firewall now, without having to cut the crap out of the firewall. And he'll have to probably notch here, which is common, this little trough here on the 32 cross member. We'll probably have to notch that out for pulley space, but it's kind of sitting good, and we're actually about level. Everything's sitting down, so our wood motor mounts with those Hurst mounts that we just found last night, literally stroke of luck, picking the night before, and we found the mounts that Jason needed, and it saved us having to fabricate basically those mounts, so it's pretty sweet. Drivetrain in, so we're probably gonna have to strap up the transmission again, just to kind of hold the weight in the car, but getting that engine in there is really, really cool. Yeah, we gotta get rid of this. Yeah, I can see it. Gotta get the ass end up a little bit. All right, next step. All right, so now we got the engine and trans in. We ended up just taking a board here and cutting it and fitting it across the frame with another board. That just holding the trans where it needs to be, so we got the weight on the frame. So all that is pretty good. So what I think we want to do is work from the front to the back. So Jason already got a drop axle in there. We got our engine and trans kind of with their weight on the frame. That's all good. He's got not jack stands, but blocks sitting in the rear with the frame height he'd like. And I think what we want to do now, work our way back, is Jason wants to channel at about 4 inches. So we're gonna just notch out the sub rails, cut them out so that we can just slip this down over and get that height right, so we can stand back and just kind of really nail the stance on this thing. And what's important is, getting the cab where we like it, and then we can work on where we want the rear wheels to sit in relation to that. So we're gonna go in. I got my paint marker here that Jason had, and we're gonna notch out right along the feet here. So we're probably gonna end up cutting right in here. It's so dirty. Kind of mark. This is not working. Killing your paint marker. Anyways, we're gonna mark. That's not working. We're gonna mark right there, cut in here, cut this off here. Then back in here, the frame stays straight, so we can just cut it right at the B-pillar and cut back on both sides. And we're gonna take the center section of sub rails out, and then we can lower this thing down and get the cab sitting right. Right there. Gonna pinch. Yep. One blade does it all. It slices, it dices, it cuts metal, it cuts wood. Dead bodies, it'll do it all. All right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Love it. Now we're sitting on nothing. Now this SCCA cage. All right, here we go. Let's channel her. Drop them down. Take the 2x4 out actually. Or no, was it 2x4?
No.
Just take them down one clip.
Okay.
You're just off the left side sitting higher.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Just take the jack stands out. This thing's so light. I think we can set it on the sheet.
Alright, jack stands are out.
There you go. It's so light, I think you can, for now, just sit it on the sheet metal and it won't hurt anything. Ooh. Yeah.
Should I help out?
Yeah, I would hop out and look at it. Man, that's like just about spot on. Just because you actually see how much the cab overlaps the frame so much, it almost makes the frame disappear just as it is. And this would, I think, would be really bitchin' if you had some pipes that came out. Yeah, but if you brought some pipes out and ran it right here to take up that overlap, it would kind of fill in that gap there, because that looks a little funny. The frame's so far in.
Yeah. That was my one concern.
But again, if you build a pipe that comes in and takes up this area, it'll totally hide. And if the pipe's kind of like, pipes are almost level with the, even with the outside, then you won't be able to see if there's a gap between the pipe and that, and it'll look cool. But yeah, that's a
almost
good,
like a side pipe.
Yeah, just some kind of neat, kind of like I did on the T or something.
Yeah.
Like just build some kind of neat looking pipes that come outside the frame and run, and you gotta do that. So, yeah, I like that 1 degree made a big difference.
Huge.
Yeah, it gave it some attitude now. Because that's the thing, you're that roof line and that channel dictates where everything else is going to be. You roll it on with those tires and wheels with this rear, it's going to tell you it needs to be right here. That's pretty much it. And then your spring, like we were talking about, your spring's what kind of dictates how high the step is within reason. So.
Well, I was thinking about it too. I'm like,
We can.
I can get a spring made.
Well, no, we can figure it out. If we set those, the spring hangers are roughly like, that's a pretty flat spring.
Yeah.
So they're only, let's say, 2-3 inches or something. We can try and look online and we find a diagram. And that where the spring perches are on those rear bones, that's a fixed point where the bottom of the spring is. If you can figure out roughly where the top of the spring is, that'll kind of give us an idea of where everything needs to be. So the step is going to be, that's a little tough without knowing where the spring's going to land. Okay.
Well, there's probably a half.
Yeah, so they'll go up a bit, yeah.
Yeah, there's probably, I'd say at least probably a half inch.
Okay, we'll have to open them up before we really get going. Now we can kind of visualize where the frame needs to, so see what I mean? See how low the spring actually sits?
Yeah.
So your
So
cross,
spring, I mean,
your cross member, yeah, the spring's going to sit probably below the top of this, realistically. They're pretty flat, so it's going to sit, you know, let's say something like that. So your frame rails, if you put your cross member, so you just have just a little bit of clearance over this, and that'll give you a lot of clearance here, you know, 10 inches of clearance or 8 inches of clearance. That'll get you back to where the spring needs to be. So, like I said, I think we're having I'm a little worried to start fully making the rear step without having a spring, because we really don't know. I mean, we can all guess, but without bolting them on, it's going to be really, really tough. All right, so Jay spent some time lopping off the frame rails. This is like 3/16 thick frame on these BB truck frames. So he lopped it off. We kind of made some marks here where we like to put the 45 cut to put the beginning of our step here, step up the frame. But we left the extra on here, just a little bit extra, so we can just visualize it. What we're thinking about is the length of the bed. Jay wants to use this for putting, possibly putting some motorcycles in there and actually using it as a truck. So he doesn't want a little bobber with a 3-foot bed on it. So we got to kind of figure all that out. But what we're looking at now is bed length versus wheelbase and stance and all that stuff to get that all kind of right. And yeah, we're just kind of looking it over. So we're going to measure, first of all, measure the wheelbase. Right now we have it set at about 6-foot bed with the wheels centered in the center of the bed. 32 pickups. They actually had the rear wheels weren't centered in the bed, but it is kind of looks a little funny. So I agree with Jay. He wants to center the wheels in the bed, so we kind of figure that out. So we measure wheelbase is going to get center.
.118.
Okay.
106, I think, is 32.
Yep.
Was it 112 for 33, 34?
Yeah.
So how about we move it up 6 inches? I'll move the rear 6 inches up,
Okay.
which should give us a 34-inch wheelbase for a truck, which the truck cabs or the truck somewhat have.
Yeah. Yeah. It does look a little stretched out, though.
Yes, I agree.
And especially, the other thing is you have to remember is we're putting a grill out front. So by putting the grill out front and the wheelbase bigger, it's going to really make it look long. So.
Well, you know what I want to do is, I'll move this 6 inches forward. Let me see if I can take one of those 6-foot box tubings, clamp it to the top of the rail, and see how it overhang looks. You know?
Okay.
Because at least that way, I don't have the full shoe.
Man, that's really going to add length to the truck. But it might be kind of cool, actually. I don't know. It's really hard to visualize. Is that really centered in that? It can't be because we moved it up some. Yeah. Remember we moved it up, so it's going to be actually forward of center of 6 foot.
Yeah.
So
You want to bring it back to the center?
you could just to kind of visualize that. I don't know if the
36.
I actually kind of think that's the ticket right there.
Where I was at originally.
Yeah. When you had it forward, it wasn't horrible. But any more forward than what we had it looks like a little bobber cut-off truck. So
Which I'm not into.
yeah. Just seems like the bed's hanging out a lot, but I think it's just a visual thing.
Over here. There we go.
All right, so we ran out of time. I'm tired. I want to go home, and Jay's tired of having me.
Yeah.
So, I'm a pain in the ass. So we got some of the tubing cut and just like mocked up, but so talk us through what you're thinking for next steps.
All right. So next steps are I'm going to get the back of this situated. I'm going to make the right cuts or the cuts that I need to make. Get everything tacked in place, and then we're going to get a spring, a front spring to put in the back, probably off like a 40 Ford. Seemed to be the setup back then. Do that. I have the wishbone mounts because I have 35-36 split rear radius rods for it that I got from Carl's.
Yeah, Carl's stash. Can't put the use.
So we're going to put those on. To the 9-inch that I got from Carl's,
Yeah.
along with the wheels.
Yeah.
So a lot of Carl stuff on here, but
So you got, right now we have it just roughly mocked up, and it's like, what do we say, it's like 7 inches of clearance here, and what we're kind of discussing is he's losing out on some bed floor height with that. So we're thinking about dropping it down just a little bit because the suspension on these cars or trucks don't travel a lot. So Jay's going to kind of stare at this for a little bit. This is a lot what I do. You get to a good stopping point and you can just kind of stare at it. But you have slicks coming.
yes, probably they'll show up Monday, even though today's Friday.
Yeah.
From Towel City, I have 8-inch pie crust cheater slicks,
Cool.
and they're going on these 8.5-inch wide wheels. So hopefully it should pull off the look that I'm going for.
Yeah.
And it'll make it not look as stupid with the truck tires on the back.
So next time I'm going to come over, we're going to try and knock out getting this stuff. Jay's going to work on cutting and measuring and getting this stuff kind of roughly set up. And then we can kind of adjust the height where it's going to be. And he's letting, for anybody that's wondering why this is sticking out way far, he wants to have a 6-foot bed like we talked about earlier, and the wheels are centered. So this is going to be probably lopped off a little bit, but we wanted to leave all that kind of there for now till we make a bed. We're going to actually make a custom bed for this, which will be fun. So big progress on the 32 pickup project, and it's pretty cool. It looks awesome, Jay.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm psyched. So we'll keep moving on and gathering parts and having fun. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. See ya.